Hello, everyone, and welcome to The Thread. If you're going to join us live this evening, or if you're going to watch later, I'm glad you're here. But I don't know about you, but my phone is constantly giving me forecasts. Weather forecast, economic forecast, news forecasts. And if I'm perfectly honest with you, a lot of them seem pretty bleak. I mean, it can feel like we're constantly being told to brace for impact, for the next storm, for the next crisis, for the next thing to be anxious about. It makes our world seem kind of chaotic, doesn't it? And maybe that feeling of chaos is not just in the world, but perhaps it's in our own lives as well. How about a health diagnosis that comes out of nowhere? What about a relationship that's on the rocks? What about that financial pressure that just won't let up? There's this deep personal loneliness that starts to sit in with you even when you're in a crowd. It can feel like you're walking in the darkness, honestly. You're just trying to feel your way forward and praying you don't trip. My friends, that's why the Christmas story is so much more than this sweet sentimental tale. See, Christmas didn't start in a manger. It started with a promise. And that's what this 4-week series is about. The promise of Christmas and what it's all about. We're going to go from ancient prophecy to our present day mission. Because the promise of Christmas is meant to bring real, tangible hope, peace, joy, and love. Even in our modern messy lives. Even this evening, we're starting with the first one, the promise of hope. To understand the power of this promise, you have to go back 2,700 years. We have to step into the shoes of the people who first heard these words. The nation of Judah, God's people now, were in a state of total panic. They were a small nation caught between two superpowers known as Assyria and Egypt, one to the north, one to the south. They were under constant threat of invasion, war, and being wiped off the map. Politically, their lives was a nightmare. But it was more than that. They were a spiritual mess. They had turned away from God. They turned trusting in political alliances and their own schemes instead of God himself. As a result, corruption was rampant and morale was in the gutter. Does it kind of sound familiar? See, maybe we're not worried about Assyrian armies right now, but we know about being under threat. The pressure, the anxiety, the feeling that everything's spiraling out of control and our future is incredibly uncertain. The people of Isaiah's day were in every sense of the word walking in darkness. They couldn't see a way out. And then this is where this promise is given to them. Because in the deep, profound darkness of that time, God speaks. And he doesn't say, hey guys, just hang in there, it's going to be all right. He doesn't offer vague, spiritual sounding platitudes. He gives them and us a specific, mind-blowing, detailed promise. Let's take a look at it. It's found in the book of Isaiah, chapter 9. We're going to read verse 2, then verses 6 and 7. Listen. The people walking in darkness have seen a great light. On those living in the land of deep darkness, a light has dawned. For us a child is born, to us a son is given, and the government will be on his shoulders, and he will be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, and Prince of Peace. That's pretty cool. Did you catch the absolute audacity of that promise, though? In the face of military collapse, God says the solution is a child. Not a bigger army, not a better king, but a baby. And not just any baby. This child, this baby, would carry the very government of God on his shoulders. The names reveal his divine nature. Wonderful Counselor. That means the ultimate source of wisdom and guidance. Mighty God. He is God himself coming to fight for us. God putting on skin and walking among us. Everlasting Father. The source of unconditional protection and love. Prince of Peace. The one who brings true shalom. That's wholeness, completeness, and reconciliation. See, this promise was so specific that hundreds of years later, the prophet Micah even named the tiny, insignificant town where this would happen. That tiny town. It says here, but you, Bethlehem Ephrathah, though you are small among the clans of Judah, you will come out of you will come for me one who will be ruler over Israel. Bethlehem, nowhere town. In America, maybe that's Fremont. Maybe that is Cedar. Maybe that is in Texas, a little town called Tankersley. Population 12, by the way. See, God's promise wasn't spectacular. It wasn't just spectacular, my friends. It was specific and it was verifiable. He was claiming that history could check later what he was talking about. God was staking his reputation on this promise. And that's why, this is why this ancient prophecy means so much to you and I today. Whether you're watching on your phone or your computer, the same God that made this promise and kept it in the manger in Bethlehem is the same God that makes promises to me and you. He is a promise keeper. The Christmas story is ultimate proof. The light did dawn in darkness. The child was born in Bethlehem. He is Wonderful Counselor. He is Mighty God, Everlasting Father, and Prince of Peace. And because he kept that massive, world-altering promise, you and I can trust the promises he makes in our own modern chaos. Let me give you 3. He promises his presence in Matthew 28:20 when he says, and surely I am with you always to the very end of the age. My friends, you're not alone in your darkness. However you feel, whatever you're facing, God is there. You don't just have to get through it, my friends. You can go through it with God of the universe by your side. 2, he promises his purpose. Listen to Romans 8:28. We know that all things God works to the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose. This doesn't mean all things are good. A diagnosis is not good. Loss is not good. But God is so powerful that even he can use the broken, painful things in our lives and weave them into a larger story of good and purpose. My friend, your story isn't over. The third one is his promises offer eternal hope. John 3:16. For God so loved the world that he gave his only one and only Son. Why? So that we wouldn't perish, so that we could have eternal life. See, the hope of Christmas isn't just for this life. It's a hope that death itself is defeated, that darkness does not get the final word, and that light wins. So what do we do with this? How do we move from the ancient idea to a modern hope? Let me give you some simple examples here. First, reflect. Take a moment now, pause this video if you need to, and ask yourself, what area of my life feels like darkness or chaos right now? Is it your family, your job, your finances, your inner peace? Name it. Identify the darkness. Second, receive. This is an act of faith, my friends. It's a choice. Choose to place a specific area of darkness into the hands of God who keeps his promises. You might pray something as simple as this. God, I don't see a way out. It feels dark, but your word says you are light. I'm choosing to trust you with this problem. I receive your promise of presence, purpose, and hope in this situation. You're not just hoping for a better outcome. You're trusting a promise-keeping God. And finally, I want to challenge you. Hope is meant to be shared. Your story of God's faithfulness could be the light that someone else desperately needs to see. Our challenge for you this week, my challenge for you this week is share a story of God's faithfulness in your life on social media. It doesn't have to be long or profound. Maybe it's a time he provided when you didn't know how to pay a bill. Maybe it's a time when he gave you peace in the middle of a mess. Maybe it's how he helped you through a season of grief. Use a hashtag. I said the promise of Christmas, but you don't have to do that. But let's fill Facebook. Let's fill social media with stories of light and hope in a place that seems so dark sometimes. Let's point each other back to a God who keeps his word. See, when the world gives you a forecast of chaos, my friends, you have access to a better forecast. You have access to a promise of a light that shines in the darkness, and darkness has not. You will overcome it. The promise that started centuries before Bethlehem, and it reaches right into our lives today. We can have hope, not because our circumstances are perfect, but because our God is faithful. See, I want to just thank you for joining us today. I'll see you next week as we explore the promise of Christmas. Have a blessed night. Take care.